Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of What's Happening. We're so happy that you're coming back for more, and if you do have any questions, please email them to hello@whathappening.ca. Okay, so today's question is actually quite a fascinating question, and I'm sure you'll all agree with me that it is going to be quite interesting. What is the take that Torah and Chassidus has on this dilemma? So here we go. Dear Rabbi Jacobson, thank you so much for this amazing podcast and the responses. I'm learning so much. I'm wondering if you have some insight to share with me. For the past 6 years, I've been working at a low-level job in my company. I know I'm capable of more, and I went to school to upgrade my skills, yet I'm stuck. I'm afraid to ask for a promotion. I've not worked up the courage to ask my boss, and it's been 6 months. I need the upgraded pay, and I also know that I can fill the role easily. Yet something is stopping me from asking. I've asked a coach for help, and I also discussed this dilemma with my mentor. And I otherwise consider myself quite a strong person, yet I can't seem to get myself to ask. Is there anything that Torah and Chassidus suggests to help me? I'm hoping to hear from this podcast because, frankly, I seem stuck. Sure, I'm ready to move on, but truthfully, I'm stuck in my current position. So that is the question today, and I'm all ears. I'd love to hear the answer, as I'm sure all of you would. So I'm going to invite Rabbi Jacobson to speak.
Hello, great to be back. Another wonderful podcast, another wonderful question. To try, Be'ez Hashem, to respond to a question of real life, someone dealing with, somebody struggling with, to discuss it from the perspective of Torah and Chassidus, and to bring light to the issue at hand. And for those, all of us deal with similar types of situations in life. And hopefully the rest of you could appreciate this as well and implement it in your life. How to deal with the fear of rejection. It could be debilitating. It could be it could be stifling. The feelings are terrible. So I understand that the asker has dealt with therapists or coaches. So what does Torah say about this? And I'll take this a step further. Why did it not work up until now? Why did the advice given not work? We encounter this sometimes, dealing with people that have different struggles, different challenges. And often it's important to speak to a therapist, to speak to a professional, to a counselor. But there's a different aspect of life as well that must be addressed. So we can try to analyze this, what the fear of rejection is. Sometimes the fear of rejection is that we doubt ourselves. We doubt our inherent strengths and qualities. We have these feelings that if we ask for a promotion or if we try to get something, that people will really uncover who we are and we're not very good. There's a certain fear that we're inadequate. So sometimes it comes from a place of fear or the imposter syndrome, that we feel that we're truly imposters, we're not really who people think we are. So there could be different reasons of why people have this fear of rejection. It's true, it could affect us professionally, it could affect our dating life, it could affect many different areas of our life, that sometimes we're just simply afraid to ask for something that we could ask for, but we're just simply afraid of getting a no. How to deal with this. So I want to read part of a letter of the Rebbe that deals with anxiety, but I think could be applied to this question as well. So here's a letter written in the winter on the 26th of Tevis, 1965. This is to acknowledge receipt of your letter with the enclosure in which you write about your problem of acute anxiety and ask my advice. The Rebbe continues, the best and most effective thing to do in a situation such as yours is to study thoroughly those sections and chapters in our sacred books where the matter of divine providence and bitachon, trust in Hashem, are discussed, such as Chavos Levavos, Shar Bitachon, and similar. It is well to keep in mind those chapters and verses in Tehillim which speak of these subjects, as well as Midrashim and the interpretations of the sages. These things should be studied with such great depth that they should become a part of one's thinking. In this way, there will be no room left for any kind of anxiety or worry. And as King David says in Tehillim, Hashem is with me, I shall not fear. What can man do unto me? As you well know, the matter of Hashgacha Pratis, of divine providence, is a basis of monotheism, a concept which to us means not only that Hashem is one, but that there is oneness in the whole nature. In other words, the whole universe has one supreme being, who not only is the creator of everything, but also the master, continually supervising every detail of his handiwork. And the Rebbe goes on to explain this idea of Hashgacha Pratis, of divine providence, understanding, explaining how every single detail that happens with us in our life, every single moment, is directed by Hashem. And although I'm skipping a bit, but although many things in the world seem imperfect and require completion or perfection, there can be no doubt that there is a perfect order in the world, and even lowest in the scale of creation, namely the inanimate things, display wonderful perfection and symmetry. Excuse me. As can be seen from the atoms and molecules of inorganic matter. Hence, the conclusion must be that even those things which require completion are also part of the perfect order and necessary for the fulfillment of the good, as all this is explained at length in the teachings of Chassidus. It is explained there that in order for a man to attain perfection, it is necessary that he should also have the feeling that he is not only on the receiving end, but also a contributor, and according to the expression of our sages of blessed memory, a partner in the creation. And this is why many things have been left in the world for him to improve and perfect. I also want to make the further observation, and this is also essential, that there's really no basis for anxiety at any time, and as you yourself mentioned in your letter, that you find no reason for it. Even in such cases where you think you know the reason for your anxiety, the reason is undoubtedly imaginary, or at any rate, not the real cause. And here's a very important point that Rebbe makes. The real cause is that one's daily life is not in complete harmony with the true essence of a Yid. In such a case, it is impossible not to have an awkward feeling that things do not seem to fit somehow. And it is this disharmony which is at the bottom of the anxiety. And it is in proportion to the discrepancy between his way of life and his true natural self. Everybody recognizes that anxiety has to do with the psyche. But in the case of a Yid, the so-called psyche is really the neshama. Some Jewish people have a particularly sensitive soul, in which case the above-mentioned disharmony would create a greater anxiety. In such a case, even subtle and minor infractions of the Dikdukei mitzvahs would create anxiety. But in the case of an ordinary soul of an average Jew, there must inevitably be created some anxiety if there's a failure to observe the fundamental mitzvahs. So the Rebbe has some phenomenal points that the Rebbe makes here, and they all deserve much attention, and they deserve unpacking, and I'll try to focus on a few of them, and try to keep it sharp and concise. Number one, the Rebbe emphasizes the importance of positive thinking. This idea being that, and this is found this is a common theme in the Rebbe's letters to people that wrote to him about fears and anxieties and challenges that they had in their emotions. The fact that we think certain negative thoughts, this is something that creates a certain pattern. We start thinking negative thoughts and we start focusing on them, we start delving on them, we start meditating on them, and what happens then is that these negative thoughts take on a life of their own. They become stronger and greater. So what's the alternative? The Rebbe often suggested, and we have this in this letter as well, to pivot, to change the way of thinking, to change the way we respond to certain thoughts. And that is by filling our mind with positive thoughts. How could we fill our mind with positive thoughts while we have this darkness looming over our head, this fear, this anxiety? So we can't just say, oh, don't think that. Often people say, oh, I don't want to think that. I don't want to think negative thoughts. So what's the alternative? What should I be thinking about? There's something so scary and frightening right in front of me. So what's the alternative? What should I be thinking about? The Rebbe suggests Hesach Hadas. Not in this letter, the Rebbe doesn't mention Hesach Hadas, but often in the Rebbe's letters that's found. Hesach Hadas, and there's this, together with, and in this letter, the Rebbe focuses particularly on learning texts that strengthen our emunah b'tachon Hashem, hashgacha pratis, recognizing that everything that happens is directed by Hashem, recognizing that everything Hashem does is good. And this is a major emphasis. This is a major point of overcoming any type of a challenge that we might face, whether it's rejection or any type of form of anxiety. When we recognize that that Hashem puts everything in place, and Hashem creates everything, and Hashem creates everything that's good. And that's not just things on the outside. The Rebbe focuses here, even on the lowest, on the inanimate, how everything is perfectly synchronized. But if it's true with regards to the inanimate, how much more so with regards to us? How much more so with regards to us, the children of Hashem, that have an neshama within us? How much more so that every single detail of our life is directed by Hashem, and therefore there's nothing to fear. There are quotes here, the words of David HaMelech, Hashem is with me. So that's one point, that we have to learn how to think positive and to fill our mind with positive material, so that when we have, when we do encounter something fearful, we have where to turn to in our own mind. But there's another point that the Rebbe makes here. And this is what I mentioned earlier with regards to sometimes we speak to therapists or coaches and something doesn't work. And the point that the Rebbe makes over here is the crucial necessity that we align our life with the life of our neshama. That at the core, at the basis of anxiety, is our challenge that we're not aligned with our neshama. We're not aligned with who we are. And this is what fear of rejection is as well. We have a certain fear that we're not living up to who we are, that we're not really, the way we present ourselves, there's a certain disharmony. And here the Rebbe emphasizes the importance of aligning ourselves with our neshama, recognizing that the greatest and the most important and most powerful aspect of who we are is our neshama, that part of Hashem that is found within us, that part of Hashem that is really our true identity. And it's a part of us that expresses who we are. And the more we align ourselves with that, the more fearless we become, the more confident we become, the more kind we become, the happier we become. It's not just about doing another mitzvah, but recognizing that our true identity is one with Hashem. The challenge with that becomes when we start telling ourselves a negative self-talk, but I'm not really a worthy child of Hashem, and I'm not really a perfect Jew, and I'm not really doing things as ideally as I should. But this is all negative talk. These are negative voices that don't really reflect the Torah reality. The Torah reality is that we have to, and the fundamental reality is that we have to know who we are. We have to know that we are the children of Hashem, that we have a neshama, and that our neshama, which is one with Hashem, is our identity, and to become aligned with our neshama as much as we can. And as Rebbe points out over here, which is actually a compliment, that sometimes people have sensitive souls, and they feel this disharmony. And that's what causes anxiety. That's what causes a fear. So obviously, I don't know the asker. I'm not suggesting. Not making any suggestions with regards to them in particular. But it's true with regards to every single one of us that has certain fears. Our fear comes from a place of thinking that we control the world, that everything is in our hands. When the Baal Shem Tov was a young child, but just before his father passed away, his father, Rabbi Eliezer, famously told him, "Fear nothing but Hashem, and love every Yid." But this idea of fearing nothing, this in itself deserves a lot of attention. But how could you fear nothing? The only way to fear nothing is when you fear Hashem. Meaning when you realize that Hashem is the king and master of the universe, and everything happens according to his plan, there's nothing to fear. Nobody could hurt you. Nobody could take anything away from you. Everything is in Hashem's hands. And Hashem is your daddy. Hashem is your king. But Hashem is your father that loves you. But recognize, this recognition that Hashem is the king and master of the universe, I have a part of Hashem within myself. The more I align myself with that, the less afraid I am, the less I doubt myself. This takes work, ongoing work. It's not just a course that you take, a conversation that you have. This takes ongoing work to keep on aligning ourselves with Hashem, with our neshama, that our body expresses and lives the life of the neshama. So these are two ideas. Number one, positive thinking. Another one is that the Rebbe makes in this letter is to align ourselves with our neshama and the absolute necessity to do so. And then there's a step of actually doing what we're supposed to do. Jumping into the situation. Just not allowing any other voices to stop us. Famously before Moshe Rabbeinu, our great teacher, our great master, who doesn't know of Moshe Rabbeinu? Just before he was about to face Pharaoh, he was afraid. And the Torah goes on to tell us different times that Moshe was afraid. And yet, he did what he was supposed to do. Being afraid is natural. Each one of us, unless we're not active, even if we're not active, we might have fears. But how much more so when we're active, how much more so when we want to step out of our comfort zone. Having a fear is very natural. The question is how we react to that. And sometimes, so here when we think positive, strengthening our bitachon, our trust in Hashem, strengthening our trust and our understanding of Hashgacha Pratis, that Hashem looks after every single detail of our life, that Hashem loves us, and aligning our life with the life of our neshama, then we empower ourselves in such a great way that we become fearless. And even if there is an element of fear, it doesn't control us, it doesn't stop us. Sometimes just jumping into the deep water is the best way to learn how to swim. Just doing what we have to do. So I wish this asker a lot of success and strength to do what it is that you would like to do. and more so, strength and success to align yourself with who you really are, a child of Hashem, a part of Hashem. You have a part of Hashem within you, and with that, you'll have amazing strength to achieve and accomplish and be successful in life. May you have all blessings. May you and all of our watchers and all of our listeners and our producers much blessing and success. Thank you very much.